Quesadillas are simply one of the best comfort foods that Mexico has to offer. They seem to have a bit of everything. A crunchy exterior and a mouth-watering interior that when done right can make the worst of hangovers feel like a walk in the park. They're super versatile in the sense that when it comes to the filling, you can use pretty much anything you wanted to. Cured meats, fish, beans, or you can keep it simple and stick to just cheese. Traditionally, they can be made with either a corn or a flour tortilla, and their name was coined by the conquistadors upon their arrival in Mexico, and quite closely translates to cheesy little thing. So you can imagine how the cheese takes a central role in the preparation of these craft favorites. One exception to this norm would be Mexico City, where quesadillas are traditionally served without cheese unless you explicitly requested some. But that's a different story. Let's waste no more time. To the kitchen! For today's quesadillas, we're going for the classic duo of ham and cheese that we're going to supercharge with the addition of a caramelized onion jam. The jam requires a seemingly large amount of onion, but it will reduce in size greatly during cooking, so fear not. I promise you, by the time it's done, you have fallen in love with it, so don't go skimping on your allium. Let's go ahead and top, half, and tail 600 grams or about 3 large sweet onions. Give them a quick peel and slice them into fine slices. The trick to not crying when cutting onion is to not get overly attached. But since I realized this may be easier said than done, as a more practical advice, I suggest you use a sharp knife. This should produce cleaner cuts and result in less of the eye-watering chemicals released by the onion. And I know it can be a sensitive subject, but if you have any tips and tricks of your own, feel free to share them. When you're ready, set your finely sliced onion aside for a moment as we move to the stove. We're heating up a large pot over medium heat and adding 50 grams or about 3 tablespoons of unsalted butter. We're going to let the butter brown for a minute without letting it burn. This will draw out a deeper, nuttier flavor that will complement our onion jam. When the butter's browned nicely, we can go ahead and add in our copious amounts of onion along with a big pinch of salt. Turn the heat up to high and cook your onions for a few minutes, stirring regularly until they have softened up. At this stage, turn the heat down to low-medium. Pop a slightly ajar lid on top and cook your onions, giving them a quick stir every now and then for another half an hour or so. We're looking for a deeply caramelized onion, so don't get scared half the way through. Patience is the name of the game here. When you're happy with the caramelization results, go ahead and add 50 grams or 4 tablespoons each of balsamic vinegar and brown sugar. Give everything a stir and cook for another few minutes, or until the sugar and vinegar have reduced to a thick syrup and you have yourself a jam-like caramelized onion. This stuff is pure gold. Now let's talk ham. I went ahead and purveyed a large cut of prosciutto cotto, which is Italian ham that's been brined and steamed. This stuff is already cooked and good to go, so you can simply shred and add the prosciutto to your quesadillas in a transatlantic flavor marriage. Or you could give it a quick kiss in a hot dry pan for a few seconds just to draw its gnarly side out a bit. Consider this an optional step, but one that adds an extra layer of smoky flavor. Shred and set aside your prosciutto and let's take a look at the cheese that we're using. Quesadillas traditionally go for Mexican cheese such as Oaxaca, Chihuahua or Manchego, but these can be hard to find, so I'm using an equal parts mixture of low moisture mozzarella for stretch and mature cheddar for some cheesy complexity. I'm grating about 30 grams each per quesadilla, but this will vary between tortilla size and your personal preference. Set your desired cheese mixture aside as we move into the final stages of our prep. Construction is nearly upon us, but before we move to building our quesadillas, it's advisory that we address one last requisite, the traditional side of guacamole. Based on the size of your fruit, you want to use 1 large or 2 to 3 smaller ripe avocados. Scoop out their flesh into a bowl, making sure you lick your spoon between each avocado. This will lubricate it nicely and ensure a smooth scoop. Now, using the back of a trusty fork, go ahead and mash your avocado to your desired consistency. I personally like a chunkier guacamole as opposed to baby food guacamole, but I'll let you make that call for yourself. To our avocado, we're going to add a tablespoon of finely diced onion, a minced clove of garlic, the juice of half a lime, and we're seasoning with salt. Give everyone a quick stir around, taste for seasoning, adjust as needed, and store in the fridge for imminent consumption with our quesadillas. It's finally time for all of our hard work to start paying dividends. Construction time. Start by layering a foundation of your cheese mixture over 1/2 of your tortilla. We're then topping with our shredded ham, followed by a good helping of our stupid good caramelized onion jam, and if you like a bit of a kick, you can sneak in a couple of jalapeños. We're lastly topping with some extra cheese. You want to resist the temptation of going crazy on the filling since it will go running. Now let's close her up, and we're moving to a pan set over low-medium heat that we're going to light lightly coat with butter and allow the butter to warm up a bit. Before dropping in our quesadillas, cheese rich side down. We want to cook these to a beautiful golden brown. Flip over and repeat the process. When you're happy with your quesadillas, take them out. I like to cut mine right through the middle, but based on your size you can even cut them into thirds or leave them whole. Serve these with some of the guacamole we prepped earlier, a cooling side of sour cream and some pickled onions. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the definition of comfort food. But let us taste. Holy crunch, this stuff is beautiful. Right off the bat you get a lovely crackle when you bite into the tortilla shell, and as you make your way further you are pleasantly overwhelmed by the flavor intensity of the filling. The briny prosciutto gives you a great succulent mouthful, while the beautifully caramelized onion jam brings everything together and provides a sweet and sour vibe that balances out some of the cheesy richness. This is food paradise. But being the smart, fact-driven person you are, I wouldn't expect you to take my word for it. So I guess you'd have to make your own. But before you start cooking, please consider subscribing if you're enjoying the content. Until next time.